Hey, what's up, everybody? Theta is definitely on the move right now. We see a, what is it here? 5% pump to the upside, right? A lot of coins are kind of like flat. You can see ICP is about 4%. Whoa, look at Velo up about 10+%. MATIC up about 1%. Bitcoin's down. ADA's flat. CRV's down. VChain's flat. Filecoin 2%. So just, get a feel for the whole market here. XRP's flat. Engine's up a little bit, maybe almost 2% there. Ethereum Classic is flat. So, but I mean, Theta, 5%, not bad at all. So it's actually doing something like what MATIC did. So let me go to MATIC real quick, and you can see MATIC had a pretty big pump to the upside. I mean, that was a pretty decent sized rally here. So we've been looking at this whole thing, right, as obviously the big crash and this sort of roundabout that I like to call. And basically the whole idea has always been, ever since we were, starting to look right up in here, very complex sort of structure, maybe a little bit difficult to read. But for me, I like to look at it from a structure perspective. And again, what I've been saying here, it looks like a roundabout where you go flat like this, right? And then you just continue to break to the upside. So this whole structure, this is what we anticipated, and this is exactly what's happening. Now, MATIC obviously broke out a lot sooner than others. So let's take a look here, like at SHIB. So let's look at SHIB for a second. You can see it also had a little bit of a roundabout. We went flat, but we didn't get that velocity like with MATIC. Let's take a look at ADA. Now ADA, not too bad here. We had that roundabout, a little bit of a base right here, and then boom, we took off. So this, as you're starting to round out and as you come down and then you start going sideways, like I've been saying throughout this whole thing, that's when you want to start looking to buy. Because this thing could have easily, let me show you, could have been, right, like a 1 2 1 2 3 4 and then 5. Right? I said that's a possibility, but I said it's probably not going to happen because, when we looked at Bitcoin, we looked at the fractal, we look at the wave, this thing was pretty powerful. And this fourth wave just got too big, which means it's not a fourth wave. Now, it could be part of a bigger correction. We'll talk about that at a later date, but basically what that means is if let me zoom out a little bit more. Let's go to the daily here. So if this is a bigger correction like this, so we have sort of this 1 2 3 4 5, right? And then you can see how it went up in 3. Now if it comes back down in 3 and then it goes up in 5, then you have some type of larger correction, which could mean more downside later on. But again, we don't know what the structure is going to look like during that time, so we'll save that for another day. But other than that, it's looking quite pretty good here. So another thing we've been talking about is people forget to look at the weekly and the 2-week chart. When in doubt, zoom out. Look at the candles here, and what do we have? We have a perfected 9 buy on the 2-week. This is not like a 9 on the daily, or a 9 on the 4-hour, or even a 9 on the 3-day, or even a 9 on the weekly. This is a 2-week 9. That's a big deal. The higher the time frame, the more significant the 9 for the longer term progression here. So if we go back throughout history, at least on this chart, if I go to another ADA chart, it's only had 1 9 buy, and that 9 buy was not a good one. Why? because that was at the beginning of a bear market, right? We had 5 waves up. We went up, we went an insane parabolic rally. We were going into an expansion. So we did not trust this 9, right? That's why you don't use the 9 blindly. You want to use it in conjunction with Elliott wave. So for example, this is a 5-wave move down. We have a 9, right? And really it was a triple correction in here, or actually a double zigzag. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double zigzag, landed on a 9. So this is a pretty significant indicator here. And then also, where was this 9? This 9 was coming here at this big bubble right here. This 9 is coming down, back testing the base, which is the most important part of the chart, right? When you look at a skyscraper, what is the most important part of the structure? It's the bottom, it's the base, it's the foundation, it's what allows the skyscraper to, go to the sky, right? So at the end of the day, the bigger the base, like they say, the higher in space. So we had somewhat of a big base. By the way, that's why I'm so bullish on XRP, because it has created one of the biggest bases in crypto history, basically the biggest. And that's why a lot of people don't like XRP, because it's boring, it's 50, 60 cents, it seems like years, right? And it has been. But so was Amazon before it destroyed the market by crushing it, right? So XRP is kind of like, you got to have the conviction. If you have the strong conviction of knowing, wholeheartedly, what it's capable of doing, and basically, projecting forward, especially Ripple, the company, is basically like the driving force behind it. So, when we look at XRP, again, it's got one of the biggest bases. So that's going to eventually be in its favor. Now, as an investor, right, there's a few different types of people out there. Let me actually go to XRP real quick. This will be a good lesson here. So there's 2 types of people. The first kind of group, let me go to Fetch. The first kind of group will look at it, right? And, it'll basically, nobody's talking about Fetch down here. We pump to the upside. It starts to get some recognition, right? Then it kind of goes away a little bit. Then it pumps again. Then it has even more recognition. Then it pumps again. Now everybody wants it, right? So you have a lot of buying all through here, right? All through here and even here, right? So, people like that are chasing, right? Like Dogecoin was probably the best example. My old job I used to work at, the security guard, he didn't really know about crypto. I can tell he wasn't really informed, but he talked about Dogecoin. He said his friend made a lot of money in Doge, so I'm gonna make money in Doge too. And then like a couple months later, he sold his Doge, obviously, because that's not how you make money. If you hear someone say, "Look how much money I made in this coin, you should buy it too," run as fast as you can, because the money has already been made. You want to look for that separates the hardcore sort of true investor compared to the chaser, right? You have the investor and you have the chaser. So I'm not saying not to chase it, or I'm not saying, or actually I am saying not to chase it, but I'm saying if this continues to go up, hey, that's fine. People will make money. But for me, I like to buy things that are boring, that people really don't care about. Why? Because that's where the magic happens. Like, for example, you see how I was going sideways down here? Sideways is good, right? So all of that sideways action at the bottom of the barrel, nobody really cared. And you can see the total, you could see that Wyckoff structure here. Actually, let me go to, and by the way, look at this. Here's a 2-week 9 buy, and look what it did. It led to an explosive rally in fetch. So from the red dots, from the activation, all the way up, what was that? That was 1,300%, right? So not bad at all. That's a 13x move. And what initiated that? The 9 buy. So you can see, right? I'll get back to what I was saying in a moment, but you can see the red dots here, right? This 9 printed that red dot. And those red dots were very significant because it's building a base under the dots. And look how long, here's another good lesson. Just because we have a 9 buy doesn't mean we're going to rocket ship to the moon instantly. Look how long this took. And by the way, this was not a perfected 9. This is a perfected 9, right? Now it is coming off of a pretty significant wave. So that's why I'm a little bit reluctant to say, yeah, we're going to get a full-blown breakout here in fetch. I would be more inclined to say we have some kind of 3-way move. We get to the retracement, take your profit, and then kind of wait and see what happens. Now, if it goes up in 5, we have a 3-way pullback. We can break out. But I'm looking for a retracement or at least a bounce, and I want to see how that bounce gets developed because this could easily be an A, B, C, and then go at a later time, right? Now, I don't think so. The reason why I don't think so is because we only have 3 waves. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to see 5. So I'm more inclined to say we're probably going to get that, but I want to see the way it moves up. Does it move up impulsively or does it move up correctively? So we'll find out soon enough. But essentially, you can see these red dots down here, right? You can see them right there. And then what happened? As soon as we broke above those red dots, this 9 was activated. And look how long it took. So from the close, not the 9 itself, but from the close, from the start of this candle all the way to here, that took 70 days. It took 70 days after the 9. So that's what I'm saying. Like it might not happen right away, but you kind of don't want it to happen right away. Why? Because you want the 9, but then you also want a bunch of candles going sideways. You want it to build a base. This is a structure right here. This is your steel beam right here. And that's supporting this heavy weight. Because look how big this candle is. That's a lot of weight right there. That's like 2 tons, right? Look at this. That's like 1.5 tons, right? You can look at here. That's like 1,000 pounds, right? That's a lot of weight right there. So a lot of weight needs a lot of support. And that's kind of how you have to look at it. It's kind of like building Legos, right? Think of the candles like Legos. You got to have a decent situation. So again, that's how this, that's a very good buy indicator right there. It took a while, but, the reward was worth it. So if we translate that, so if I just take a bars pattern here from where the 9 is all the way over, and I take it, let's see here. I'll put it right here. So you can see, maybe we get something like that, right? And then where is the actual breakout? Well, wouldn't you know it? That's November, December. So I'm not saying it's going to take this long, but if it did, that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. So if we go sideways in here for a while, that's probably what's going to happen, especially September. When you look at September, historically, it's been red. So we'll see. I don't know, but that's historically what it's been. So, but yeah, we're definitely not out of the woods yet. This might be a false signal. And in my opinion, it's not going to be a false signal because it's already green, right? We have this 9, it's green already. It's saying, look, I'm pumped up. I'm ready to start establishing some support. So anyways, back to what I was saying earlier, again, you have chasers and you have disciplined investors. Now, a chaser might chase this, right? Like especially like the meme coins, Dogecoin, things like that. That's why a lot of people buy XRP and then they end up selling it because they don't want to wait. They're tired of waiting. It's done nothing. It's actually been bleeding against their buy. But actually, XRP is one of the few coins that has been going up. So the bottom here was in June of 2022, right? So June of 2022, and we've been steadily going up, right? Versus, I think Theta bottom was October of 2023, so much later. But even, you're comparing like apples and oranges, right? So like Ethereum's bottom was also June of 2022. ICP, just, basically here's your 2022. I would say most altcoins made their final low somewhere in October of 2023, exactly the time that I started my YouTube channel. I did a couple videos prior to that, but more committed. The reason I did that is because I felt like this was the bottom. And you can go back and look at the first video and the first Theta video in October and, check it out. But let's see. So let me go back to XRP, and we'll jump into all the price in a moment. But let's go to the market cap here. So again, we've been going sideways, right, for years, for 6 years. I mean, you can see all the times down in here, right? So, it's been a long time, right? And if I kind of scrunch this a little bit here and then put this base, you can see, look how massive that steel foundation is. That is huge, right? So when this thing breaks out, it's going to be, it's going to be very strong. And here's the thing. Even if it's not strong, let's say it breaks out and it doesn't go so high, because it's already a $33 billion asset. You know what I mean? It's already pretty high up there on the market cap, right? So it's going to take a lot of money to push it to like $10. And even $10 would be only about 1,200%, right? But the thing is we're looking for strength. So, and it's important because if I stretch this out, let's say we do get a big breakout here. The important thing is if we come back down into a bear market, guess what? We're going to have so much support. You got to always think ahead too, right? Because you could see all of this support in here, all of this support, right? Especially all through here. A lot of support in here. So if we blast to the upside, and then let's say we had a terrible black swan crash that just capitulated everything, well, even then, I think we would essentially just backtest. We would backtest here, and you can see here's our base over here, and we never backtested that base, right? So we might go up and might not even need to backtest it later on, right, for a bear market, right? So you come up, you come back down, you kind of build another base on top of it, and then hopefully continue the process, right? So anyways, that's why I have XRP. That's why it's one of my biggest holdings. By the way, look at this. The 2-week 9 buy was down here, and then the 2-week 9 sell actually called the exact top of when the judge ruled it was not a security. So that's kind of interesting. And that marked the top, and you can see those red dots up there, right? And then you can also see the green dots down here. So if this thing ever decided to crash, we could have some support down here. Basically our setup trend. So, yeah, we have a lot of bases within the base. So we have our macro base right here. And let me turn that down. And then we have, you know, kind of these bases in here. You can see, right? We have one right here. And then we have another one right here. So what does that mean? That means it's just sideways. Sideways, sideways, sideways. And again, most people, they buy it and it goes sideways. It does nothing. And they leave it. And they sell it and they say it's no good. And that's the difference between someone who has to go through the future and someone who, you know, thinks about living or thinks about actually, you know, sticking with it, having the patience. So again, you know, look at Amazon and look at many other stocks. You know, Amazon took 10 years before it broke above its all-time high. So right now we're about that 6-year mark. So we'll see just how long it takes. But I think based off, you know, what this is doing here, right? Rise, crash, and look at the crash. Look how it's, and the retracement. Notice how it's like a cup. And then the reaccumulation. That's the handle right here. And then you have, you know, this reaccumulation in here, and it looks like we're potentially starting to cup back up. So you have a massive cup and handle here, right? So the measured move of that, I mean, I am on log scale, so it might be a little bit off, but ballpark, I mean, you're looking at, you know, $500 billion, and I believe, you know, that will, let's see what the retracement is. I believe we will hit $500 billion. Now, if you ask me this market cycle, you know, it's a little bit difficult to say. Let's see what it says here, so we can get a price on that. Yeah, so that's between $8 and $12. So are we going to hit $8 to $12? I have no idea. I mean, but the thing is, you know, just because you don't know, you have to look at everything else. And again, most crypto, like Fetch, right? What does it do? It opens up. It has the ICO or whatever. It opens the price. They dump the price, right? They buy the pre-sale, jacks the price up. Then the coin goes live on the exchange. The insiders dump it, and then it crashes down. And then if it's worth anything, people pick it up cheap. And then what happens is it starts to cut back up. And like Fetch, it blasts it off. Some of them are only right here. Some of them are way up here. But basically it's up, down, up. There's no base in there. There's no structure that can support that, right? Now, to be fair, a lot of these coins are very small market cap, right? Maybe 50 million, 100 million, 500 million, pretty small. So they don't need such a big base of support to launch the price. Because, I mean, if you look at Bitcoin in the early days, it's just trailing up, pull back, trailing up, pull back, you know, just continue to do so. Now, the reason why I think it's been so long is obviously because of how big it pumped in the beginning. I mean, this thing went up 65,000%, even more than that. Actually, if I start it from here, from the bottom here, all the way up, I mean, wow, you're looking at a half a million percent, 564 million, or 564,000%. That's a big number right there, right? So all of that needs a lot of correcting. Now you can say, well, maybe there's not enough juice in the tank. Here's the thing. If, you know, as it went up here, I wasn't buying XRP. I wasn't buying. I was waiting until the structure was formed. Now that we have all of this structure here, it more and made 6 years, right? This is a 6-year base. So it more than enough made up the difference in that structure, right? So we'll see how this continues to progress. If Bitcoin gets its 5th wave, right, I can totally see this thing just go boop, like very fast. Something like that, right? You know, I mean, we know how XRP likes to move. It's basically straight up, something like that. So, yeah, you can hear my dog in the background moaning and groaning. He's probably like, he's doing another video. Shut up already. But anyways, so that's XRP for you. So, yeah, and the other thing too is, more recent, I like what I'm seeing right now. Right now is really nice, right? You can see we have a base right here, right? You can kind of see something similar too, right? You have a rise, a crash, you come up into a retracement, right? You go down into reaccumulation, and now you're kind of going sideways in here. So I think this is setting up, you know, again, provided the environment is healthy, provided Bitcoin gets the 5th wave, provided there's no deep state black swan event during this election cycle that crashes the markets, you know, I think it's set up and primed for a significant move to the upside. So, you know, buying XRP and holding it, it doesn't feel good because it's like, okay, it's 50 cents, it's 60 cents, it's not giving me the rush like what of another coin. It's not giving me that dopamine hit. It's not giving me those endorphins that I'm used to feeling, because that's the difference between the chasers, right? They're chasing like a drug, like they're chasing the drug, versus like thinking, you know, years ahead, months ahead, right? Like kind of like, you know, maybe like a college kid blowing, or a young kid blowing his money on things rather than saving it for college or whatever. By the way, I never went to college. College is not for everybody. I think a lot of times college is not that good. I mean, it depends what you want to do with your life, right? If you need to be a certain profession that requires school, obviously it's great. But, you know, most people, you know, they need like a trade school, like to learn how to be an electrician or learn how to do this or that, right? Like, you know, trade, working on the power lines, doing certain architect construction. I mean, it just really depends what you do. But for me, you know, college wasn't for me. I learned more on YouTube than I would ever. You know, YouTube is like Harvard on steroids times a million, right? You can learn anything. You can learn how to build an engine. You can learn how to put you know, like an RC car together. That's what I was doing a couple days ago. So, you know, YouTube has all your information, and I can, if I wanted it, when I was growing up, I loved astronomy. I loved it. So a lot of times I would just look up astronomy videos, and I would learn more in those videos than I actually did in school, which is kind of sad. But anyways, so yeah, I think, again, it looks really nice. We don't have a 2-week 9 buy on XRP, because in order to get a 2-week 9 buy, or any 9 buy, is it needs to be trending. We're not trending with XRP. We're consolidating. We're ranging up, down, up, down, up, down. So it takes a long time to get that 9, right? Which is not going to take away from its velocity when it moves up, because ultimately you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 C, A, B, C, and then you have a 1, 2, right? So if this is a 1, 2, then we should get that third wave pretty soon, and that third wave should definitely break us above. I'm on the market cap. I should go here. that wave 2 should definitely break us above 75 to $1. And ultimately, the big one to get through is going to be $1.30 through $1.60. Once we break that, it's going to be very interesting. Because again, this thing's been sleeping for 6 years. So when it wakes up, it's going to be hungry. Okay, it's going to be starving, and it's gonna chase after its prey. And I think it might be a pretty sight to see. Look at this down here. We actually had, look at that, wow. We had a 2-week 9 buy on XRP, which led to the greatest bull market, bull run in history, which was the 2017 bull run for XRP, right? I mean, look at that. This 9 kicked it off. And you can see we landed on an 8. We almost landed on a 9. But you can say, you know, it was close enough, right? We went sideways a little bit. And then, bam, we had that next wave to the upside. So, yeah, let's... if I zoom out, you can kind of see the diagram there that I've showed before. And if I go to the 2-month chart, you can see this is 20 bars and this is 40 bars. So this is twice as big as this. So we're not at the 40 bar yet. Right now we're at 39 bars. So the next bar is going to be 40 bars. And that's coming in 9 days. Right? So on the 20th bar, that's when it broke out. It'll be interesting to see if the 40th bar can break this out. And by the way, I'm looking at the 2-month candle. Let me take everything off the screen. Look at that thing. It's pretty bullish. That's definitely got a nice long wick at the bottom. The wick on top is normal. I'd like it to see it get a little bit higher. What I really would like to see, and I don't know if it's going to happen this bar, but if I can put a line right here, and that line is at 61 cents. So we're in the month of August. So the last day of August, if we're above 61 cents, if we can close above this close, it'll be the highest 2-month close since back in January of 2022. So that's a long time, right? So if we go to the monthly chart, I think it's a little bit higher. Yeah, so I'll move that up right about there. So that's about 62 cents. And then this one over here is actually at, I think that's 69.70 cents. So, but look at the monthly candle. That's a major bullish hammer candle. You know, and prior to that was an engulfing candle. So, yeah, that's a very interesting chart. So we'll see how it goes. Let me jump into the small time frames. So the 1 hour chart, it's a little bit, looks like it needs a little bit more. I mean, I like the shape of it. You know, it could be something like a rise, crash. You have a rounded crash, retracement, kind of go into reaccumulation, kind of go sideways a bit, and then take off. I mean, that's what I would imagine. That's what I would like to see. So, yeah, there's really 2 ideas with XRP, or actually 3. A, B, C, go. Or it's, you can see the little roundabout, which we talked about. We went sideways. And by the way, XRP did its roundabout and went sideways first. So, you know, a lot quicker than most, right? So you're wondering, well, how come XRP is not moving like some other coins, because it already did move. It's already way up here, right? So now we have to figure out, well, what is it doing now? And that could always be a challenge. Kind of looks like we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe an A. This could be a B, a flat. And then maybe some kind of C here. So we're looking for some kind of three-wave shape. And it could be pretty deep, right? And then go. Now, if it's not that, then this is a ABC here, and this is a 1, 2, and now we're just gearing up for that next wave higher. So it's Thursday. So we're basically getting near the end of the week. So anyways, Theta is the one I really wanted to talk about, actually. Theta is, doing exactly what we thought. And we broke above this structure here. You can see we broke out and we back tested it right here, and we continued to pump to the upside. And the cool part is we have, let's see, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a diagonal. And then you have sort of this three-wave shape here. And now we have what looks like to be a 1, 2. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3. Maybe we come down here. Maybe we come deep and we back test this for 4. And then we get 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I would like to see. And I like how extended this is. You can see how small this is versus how big this is. That tells me that this is more of an impulse, which is more likely we pull back and we get another wave to the upside. So once we get that fifth wave, hopefully it's big. The bigger the better. We want that thing to be as big as we can. Why? Because we want to retrace as deep as we can, so that we really want it to get back to these highs here. And then we can, we see 1, 2, 3, and then we kind of pull back for 4, and then we start to round out. You can see a shoulder, you could see a head, and then another shoulder, and then break out, and then continue to go. So that's the projection. Remember, if you hear someone who shares a chart prediction, it's not really a prediction, it's a projection. Predicting something is kind of like you're predicting something based off, when you're looking at a chart, you're analyzing it so that you can make the assessment for the projection. A prediction is a little bit different. So just to let you know, sometimes words are confusing. But yeah, and then here's the cool part. Once we break that neckline there, this one here. So we have 1, 2, 3. We curl up we come down for 4, and then we blast off for 5. As soon as we break this, it's going to be from $1.60. It's going to be a straight shot to $1.95 or even $2. So right up here. And then I would imagine coming down and back testing it. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably play around in here a little bit, because again, there's a gap. You can see the gap here. As soon as we break this, it's a straight shot up, and you break it down, it's a straight shot down. So there's no leverage in here. There's no there's no structure. So when it breaks it, it's probably going to come down and build that structure so that I can continue higher. So we're going to figure out what's going on in here as it develops. And again, if you want to be a member, you can click join, and we'll talk more about things like that, and coming up with a strategy we can use to sort of maximize our return and mitigate the risk. Now, if you're a hodler and you just buy and hodl, then hey, you just buy and hodl, right? Nothing wrong with that. But even as a hodler, you kind of want to know exactly certain things, because hodlers do what? They buy and they dollar cost average. But knowing when to buy, knowing when to dollar cost average, that's a little bit tricky. And it's usually the wave structure kind of gives it away on when you kind of want to do that. So anyways, that's what I got for theta here. If I look at the small time frames, like real small, let's go to the 15-minute. It looks a little bearish. We got bearish divergence on the 15-minute chart, right? But yeah, I mean, you can see it right here. So 1, 2, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of this is so this is 1, 2, all of this is 3. Let's get 4, and then let's get 5. So we'll see where we pull back to. Now, is there any projections here? I kind of want to see where that fourth wave goes. But if you look at this, trend based, they moved around, so I'm trying to learn the new. Okay, so from here to here, down to here. Look at that. We went almost to the 3.414. That's a pretty big extension from this first wave. So that's pretty decent. So I would expect it to pull back somewhere in here. But one of the ones that actually performed the best on the little roundabout was MATIC. So we'll look at MATIC for a little bit. I mean, that's just a beautiful, pretty big rally there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to get in on MATIC. I was looking at it, but I'm trying to, I got to be picky and choosy with what I get. And just because something takes off doesn't mean I'm going to go chase it, because it kind of gives me a better feeling of what I already hold, because I think, well, if MATIC can do that, then that means, things like theta or whatever can be closer, will eventually get there too, right? So MATIC is coming at a critical resistance area. So you can see all this down in here. You can see that there. And you can see this here, right? And then if I just take it all the way across, that's where we're at. So this is like the big area. Are we going to get through it? Or are we going to get rejected hard? Right? So if we come up here and we spend a little bit of time, but we get rejected hard, then you're going to know, okay, it's not time. Right? But what we want to see is a little bit of a pullback and then a continuation, getting back to here, and then coming back down and then holding it as support and then continuing higher. So we got some work to do in here, but I think things can accelerate pretty quickly if Bitcoin breaks out. So let's see, did we break above the downward resistance line? Look at that. We did. So this is the 4-day chart. Let's see the daily. Yep, the daily did it as well. The daily did it actually yesterday. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. And again, just like what we talked about with theta, what do we see happening here? right? We're back at these equal highs. Theta is like right about there. And what do we want to see? We have a shoulder, we have a head. Let's pull back, and what do we want to do? You can see this downward resistance line here. Let's back test that as support right in here, and that might be a good area to pick some MATIC up if you wanted it. Then we come up and we break out, back test, continue. That's what it really comes down to. Again, if it's going to be bearish, is because some type of event or something like recession related, the labor market is weak, inflation, the economy, right? People panic, they get scared, they run away, they take their money, and they go home and cry. And I'm just kidding. You know, they're just, you know, they don't want to deal with it, right? So they get out. Crypto is high risk. But it's actually, when I look at it as low risk. I look at it as more of a risk not to be in crypto. Because if you can look into the future, like go talk to a geeky guy back in the 90s and let him talk to you about the internet. It's going to be revolutionary. It's going to be, you're going to have this thing called internet mail and internet money, and you're going to be able to buy things, and you're going to be, you know, and look at it today. Right, and that's kind of what crypto is going to be, but you know, we can just look and we can see it. So all of this is just noise between now and the long-term vision. So that's about it for MATIC. Let's see. Let's just move down the list here. I didn't get to look at the comments of yesterday's videos. I know I said comment a coin. I'll go ahead and do that probably tomorrow or the next day. Zcash. Let's look at Bitcoin because we haven't looked at Bitcoin yet. So Bitcoin on the daily looking pretty good. I like the daily candle. You say, well, why do you like it? It's red. Well, because you can see how we broke out, we went sideways here, and then we had a big engulfing candle that closed above these two highs, and this candle here actually came back to basically back test the range, right? So if I put a little bit of a range here, right about there, you can see that wick. See that wick right there? It wicked into that area to make it new support. So every candle has a job to do. But yeah, this was the breakout candle of this range, and this candle is retesting this candle. Like I always say, 50%. Just take the whole candle, cut it in half. That's usually where it goes. Let's look at the 4 hour. The more zoomed in you get, the harder it is to read. That's why I recommend, if you're just looking at charts and you're brand new, just stick with the weekly chart. Stick with the daily chart. Don't worry about the smaller time frames. You know, there's a couple different ways it can happen here. I'm still liking the fractal. I mean, this could be a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and we can go. Right? It could be a diagonal, leading diagonal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get an ABC pullback, and then we go. Right? Or it could be a part of a B wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A. And then we have sort of this complex B wave, and then we get C, and then go. So A, B, C, then go. Right? It could be a rise, crash, retrace. We go sideways in here for a little bit, and then go. So there's a lot of different things that could be going on in here. And why is it challenging? Because we're in the middle of the retracement levels. Right? Here's point A, here's point B, and we're like right in the middle here. So it needs to work itself out. But the important thing is we're trending. You can see we're trending higher, right? We probably got a little bit of a channel here. Usually channels break to the downside, but if this is a 1 2 1 2 1 2, it could be a big breakout here coming soon. Another thing we want to keep an eye on is you can see, and it does look very bullish to me. The reason why is because you can see we come up here, we hit the resistance, we're cupping into the resistance, we're cupping into the resistance, right? And then we come down, right? We're starting to march our way back up. We're cupping into the resistance, cupping into the resistance. We're weakening it, right? This is a like a piece of wood, and we're punching it, we're punching it, we're punching it, we're punching it, we're punching. Eventually, we're gonna break it, right? But sometimes it's so strong and you can't break it. You got to come back down and get a running start, and then you're running, and then you break through it, right? So, yeah, I would give it a little bit of time. I would, if I had to guess, I would imagine we kind of pull back a little bit and then try again, and probably go sideways through the weekend. And then what do we have? We have a shoulder, we have a head, and we have another shoulder here. So we're creating that inverse head and shoulders, which is always a good sign. So let's put the retracement up, and we'll put it down. Look at that. Look at that line. It's exactly, the neckline is exactly the 618. So that's a pretty big deal. You can see how, if I could pick any indicator in the world, it would probably be Fibonacci. But me looking at Fibonacci so much, I probably wouldn't pick it because I'd probably just eyeball it. I'd probably pick sequential. If I put this here, look at that. We get to the 886. If we measure the head, that means we really have only one retracement level to go. So according to the measured move of this potential inverse head and shoulder, by the way, I say potential because it's not financial advice. I could be dead wrong. Gets us right here to the 886. So that's basically it for the crypto market. If it's going to be very bearish, either we're going to get rejected now, which I don't think so. It doesn't look like that. But if we did, we're going to have some kind of three-wave shape. So something like that. We get up here and we get rejected hard and we come down. That's, that's certainly an unknown, right? Because we still got to get through these retracement levels, right? So we got to, we got to get through this here. And then we get up here. Then we got to get through this here, right? So we're going to find out what happens pretty soon. So hopefully the seasonality doesn't kill us. Hopefully the election year, the deep state, black swan, whatever, doesn't interfere. Hopefully it could be fast and furious. But like I said, even if there's a bad thing that happens and we crash, it's going to be very short-lived, and we're going to go down into reaccumulation. People will get scared. They're going to sell. But the Warren Buffetts of the world, the Michael Saylors of the world, they're going to be buying in here. And that's going to cause the price to explode, especially when we get a new president. I'm like 99% sure we're going to get Trump again, which is good for crypto. So let's see. Is there anything else we can look at? SHIB. Yeah, I mean, basically they're all the same. They're all having that roundabout. Let's zoom in here. And let me see. Yeah. One of the problems too is it's 3-wave-ish, right? We don't want 3 waves. If this is a diag, we got a 3-wave. We want this to get big. If it's basically, if you take this and you put it like this and we get up to here, then it could just be a 1-to-1 extension. We want at least a 1.618 extension. We want this thing to get higher. So if I put the retracement on, hold on, right here, and I go up and then down, yeah, we want to get at least up to here. And if we can do that, then that's probably a 3rd wave, not a C leg. So we want this to impulse, right? So hopefully next week, what I would like to see is pull back today, pull back tomorrow, sideways Saturday, a little bit of a pump Sunday, and then Monday morning, let's go. And then if not, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, let's go, right? Because we want this to get going so that it could be competitive. VeChain, exactly the same thing. Filecoin, exactly the same thing. ADA, exactly the same. XRP is different. XRP is always different, which always makes me wonder. In a good way. XLM, man, XLM looks pretty bullish. I like the downward resistance line. Look at that. We're breaking out right here. So this might have a little bit of follow through soon. Let's see. That's a big head though. Look how big that head is. I mean, that's a monster head there. So if I put it from here to here, wow, 13 cents. That would make sense. So that's about a 35% move there. If it can do it, we'll see. I like XLM because how it swept the low. It came down fast. It took this low out, but as soon as it took it out, it was a liquidity grab and it came right back up. And that's a huge impulse and a pullback. So if you don't like XRP, definitely I would get XLM. I think it's going to be definitely a winner. QNT, same thing as Chib and the other ones. I mean, they all look pretty much the same. Zcash. I think we were looking at, so dominance is good. We were looking at Monero. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at Monero. Remember yesterday? So that was what, about 24 hours ago? So 8, 16, 24. Okay, so we were right about here. And I said, it looks bullish. I didn't listen to myself. I wish I did, but look at that. We got a pretty nice move out of it. But I think this thing's only beginning. It looks like a 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we have another 1, 2. This could be a big monster 3rd wave, guys. Here, coming soon. This doesn't mean buy Monero. I could be wrong. But, yeah. And look at and what did we talk about? Look at the base. Look at the base. We got a big base here. We got a big base here. So I don't want to go over an hour. Because I've been going over an hour lately and it's killing the algo. So if you can like this video, I would appreciate that. But yeah, we got a nice double bottom here, and it's building a nice base, and we got a 1, 2, 1, 2 potentially, and even maybe a Wyckoff here. So eyes on the next couple days, or actually the next couple weeks. So I think we'll figure it out soon. So be ready. All right, that'll do it. I appreciate everybody. I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.